An IBA pro fighter, 57 kilos, the featherweight division, and this is Akhoundtabar Mazandarani. A 9-syllable surname is not necessarily the commentator's French brother, but I'm giving you permission to call her Bune and because she allows that herself. She understands that that can be a difficult thing to sit on the screen sometimes. Akhoundtabar, in fact, the production team have gone with. She's a good fighter, 37 years old from Tehran, has mixed it in good opposition. She's travelled all over the place to take fights. I saw her make her IBA Pro debut in Dubai last December. Won a good fight against Zenia Jurniak. I've been 10 rounds once to Sofia Onchigava. People will remember Onchigava if you follow the amateurs closely. She met Katie Taylor in the London Olympic final in 2012. Came off second best to Taylor that night. So that is Akhoundtabar Mazandarani.
Yeah, I think Akhoundtabar works for me, Andy. I really appreciate you allowing me to say that, mate.
It is my great pleasure to announce to you the athlete in the gold corner, Mijgona Samadov-Iba.
And making her way to the ring now, Mijgona Samadov-Iba from Dushanbe in Taajikstan. This is her professional debut. Experienced amateur, boxed at the World Championships in 2022, 2023, 2025 in most recent IBA version in Nick in Serbia, got to the quarterfinals and qualified as well for the Paris Olympics last year, which is an achievement in itself. Lost her first fight by split decision, which would have been absolutely devastating, but as I say, it's a hard road to get to the Olympic Games, so you can always have that status of being an Olympian. She boxes out of that gold corner, Akhoundtabar Mazandarani out of the black corner.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing to first fighting out of the black corner. She's 37 years old, standing 170 centimeters tall, weighing at 57 kilograms 7. Ladies and gentlemen, her IBA Pro record, 1 bout, 1 victory. Representing Tehran, Iran, she is Pune, Akhoundtabar Mazandarani.
And in the gold corner, 26 years old, standing 164 centimeters, 57 kilograms. This is her debut match. From Taajikstan, Mijgona Samadov-Iba.
Ladies and gentlemen, and when the bell rings, your referee in charge, Maria Petkovic, Serbia.
So final checks from the referee. She'll have a look at the gloves, the taping of the gloves, the gum shield, the protector, make sure that everything is as it should be.
Boxers, keep your head up, no holding, no low blows. Listen to my commands. Touch your gloves. Good luck.
A bit like the last fight, this is an interesting fight to take on debut for Samadov-Iba, as it was for Mustafayev, because Akhoundtabar Mazandarani is an experienced fighter, won in IBA Pro that I mentioned in Dubai last year, but 11 in pro boxing outside of that. She's boxed in China, Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, Bangladesh, Thailand. She's gone wherever the fights have taken her, and she's nice and busy most of the time, and she's going to have to work hard here, Samadov-Iba, who comes out in that southpaw stance. She's boxing in the white, Akhoundtabar Mazandarani in the black.
Yep, ambitious fight for Samadov-Iba to take, in her opening debut in the IBA ranks against a very experienced fighter in Akhoundtabar, who's been there, seen it, and done it. She's got a lot of experience. Interesting contest, this one.
Samadov just creeping in with that front foot, right hand, that lead hand low. You see lots of southpaws in international elite amateur boxing.
Samadov started this round very well. She's controlling the space well and pushing Akhoundtabar into the corner, not allowing her to control anything in there at the moment. This is impressive stuff here from Samadov.
She's just manoeuvring her opponent around the ring, isn't she? Just using that front foot. Quite a wide stance, so the front foot will feel like it's all over Akhoundtabar Mazandarani. The referee just having a quick word with her there. It puts you under pressure straight away, doesn't it? That front foot's just in your space.
Well, I can't tell you that lead left hook there after the referee called break. She was very fortunate not to get more punished for that. Samadov, to her credit, soaked it up and just got on with the job. Controlling things again here, Samadov pinning Akhoundtabar into that corner, and this is the difference here, Randy, that she's controlling this space and making Akhoundtabar work when she doesn't really want to work, and she's controlling that space, and that's the difference between these two at the moment.
Maybe just shutting your own space down a touch at times, Samadov, if you were to be hypercritical, because as you say, she's marshalling her opponent back onto the ropes, into the corners, and possibly when she gets there, it's just slightly over-eager and not giving herself quite enough room, but a good opening round.
Yeah, and Samadov controlled that, and she controlled that round with her feet there. She was utilising the space very well, controlling the space, and Akhoundtabar, I think, was a little bit surprised by that, surprised by her strength and her physical presence. And Akhoundtabar was being allowed to be pinned into the corners, pinned into the ropes, and she was waiting for Samadov. Samadov was not really doing too much. Like I say, she was controlling the space with her feet, but now needs to start building on that now, letting her hands go, throwing those punches in bunches, because that's going to be the difference here between the winner and loser, is the person that gets those hands going and letting those shots go.
Samadov staying on her feet in between rounds.
Round two.
So into the second. Samadov just wandering in a little bit behind the left hand there. The back foot came round slightly.
Samadov boxing out of that southpaw stance, and she's getting off for those shots first. She's got through with the 1-2 again there. And Akhoundtabar is really struggling with the style here, maybe the southpaw style of Samadov, because she's not getting off her shots and she doesn't look particularly comfortable in there at the moment.
No, she doesn't. I think that's a very accurate assessment. And just a few seconds ago, she did try to move in, but as she was moving in, Samadov just took that half step back, took her feet out, and Akhoundtabar Mazandarani was just stuck in no man's land and ate 2 or 3 shots. Not massive punches, but they were accurate enough.
Yep, you only have to read the body language of the two here, and Samadov controlling that space again so well, but you can see a little spring in her step here, and for Akhoundtabar, she needs to start doing something a little different, getting off of her shots first, getting her lead foot on the outside of Samadov, because that's going to make a big difference as well.
And she went for that right hand there. Akhoundtabar Mazandarani stepped in with it, but landing that right hand up against a southpaw, if she pulls her weight onto that back foot, can be a difficult thing to do. Look for it again there and just got caught nowhere, really, and on the end of a counter-attack.
Yep, just half-heartedly throwing it. That's why she's holding her feet, not stepping in with the shots. You've got to commit yourself there. You've got to have confidence in your own ability. You've got to let those shots go. Referee just taking Akhoundtabar back to the corner here to get the hair fixed, or the hair band, which can be very annoying as well.
Corner just making sure they tie that nice and tight. Gets both fighters a little bit of a breather. It's always hot up in that ring, but in this kind of indoor venue, it's been heating up during the day. When you get that lighting rig up, I think the temperature above us is pretty lively. Final few seconds of round 2. There goes the bell.
Yep, another dominant round there from Samadov, who's really fancying this. She walks back to the corner, bouncing up and down on her toes. Former world cruiserweight champion there, Johnny Nelson, he's looking on. He looks quite impressed there as well. But yeah, good performances so far from Samadov. And Akhoundtabar really has to do something different here. She looks a little disheartened in the corner. The corner are trying to work her up, trying to pump her up, and they're going to need to because she's fallen behind there big time in those opening 2 rounds. Andy, not committing with her work, holding her feet, and that is going to be a big problem. And Samadov-Iba, what a debut so far.
Round 3.
So the start of the third, Mijgona Samadov-Iba in the white, Pune Akhoundtabar Mazandarani in the black. 2-minute rounds that slip by. It's the endless debate, 2 minutes or 3 minutes in the pros. It does need, you would say, some kind of regulation, but the situation as it stands is that whoever's promoting the event requests either 2 or 3 minute rounds from the governing body, sanctioning body, whose auspices the fight is being put on under. So the British Boxing Board of Control, for example, in the UK, or the State Commission in the US, the Turkish Boxing Federation here, and they then decide whether they're going to grant 3 minute rounds if they are requested. It's 3 minutes in the amateurs, so you come out of the elite international amateurs and you're used to boxing 3 threes, and then you go to 2 minutes. It's kind of strange, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it really is. I think the 3 2s, the 2 minute round, sorry, for women does work. I like it. They haven't got time to settle, so the pace, the tempo is much higher. And I've got to tell you, Akhoundtabar caught Samadov-Iba just moments ago on the back of the head. She really wasn't happy, and since that happened, that shot landed, Samadov-Iba's really picked it up, and you can see the spike in her shots there, and the tempo has definitely changed here from Samadov-Iba.
Really just set her feet to the near side just now and looked to heave that left hand in. Just sticks out that lead. Right hand there, Samadov-Iba. That's a nice right as well. She just kind of popped off the shoulder. Walks in behind the straight left hand.
Good shots again there from Samadov-Iba, just taking that half a step back, creating that space and leading off with a hook, cross hook. Good work there. And another round that hasn't gone the way of Akhoundtabar as she walks back to that corner. And Andy, they're really going to have to do something here. Samadov-Iba, for me, taking those opening 3 rounds and just, you know, controlling things. First to the shot, the better shot selection, controlling the space. And for someone like Akhoundtabar, who has that wealth of experience, great amateur pedigree as well, you know, been in this IBA ranks for some time as well, you just like to see her change something now, because you just feel that she's got the ability to be able to do that, but we're not seeing it right now.
Really, she's just got to have a bit more conviction, have the courage of a conviction to gamble a little bit here, I think, Akhoundtabar Mazandarani, because what she's doing is, as you said before, it's a bit half-hearted, so she'll launch an attack, but then only gets halfway there, and Samadov-Iba can take those feet out and catch her on the way in, and then she's wary of that, so she's just gone into a shell, basically, but she needs to gamble a bit here. She needs to try and get on the board and win this 4th round. Easy for me to say from sat down here, but she needs to try and bring a more consistent level of attack. She just came in with her feet there, caused her opponent to retreat, and at that point she needs to go again.
Yep, spot on analysis there. It's exactly what she needs to do. And again, Samadov-Iba is the one that's landing the cleaner shots. Why is she landing the cleaner shots? Because she's throwing them a split second before Akhoundtabar, and that is the difference between these two at the moment. Boxing well out of that southpaw stance. Akhoundtabar doesn't look comfortable boxing in southpaw here either, because she seems to have run out of ideas. Samadov-Iba holding the centre of the ring, and you see the hands down low. Now, the reason she's got those hands down is because she's trying to draw the lead of Akhoundtabar there, and then she's going to step back, make her pay.
OK, so the referee is having a... Well, they're going to have to sort out that hairband again there, just trying to pull it down tight over the top of the head and keep that under control. What I would like to see from Samadov-Iba a bit more is, you can see how much she likes that left hand, and she almost throws it like a single left, doesn't she? A left-hand lead quite often. Or just comes in behind the jab there, like she did, where the jab is just it's a way in, isn't it? But she maybe just shuts down her space a bit. It'd be good to see if she could just throw it really nice and loose straight down the middle like a normal 1-2.
Absolutely, but the problem is when she throws that backhand Samadova, she falls in with her back foot a bit. You watch her feet as she lets the the left hand go, and her back foot follows the shot in as well. So she's not got the space to get off with any other shots. So I wanted to see her holding her feet a little bit after she throws that 1-2, holding her feet and letting the combinations flow. We need a little bit of fluidity around the work, not just the 1-2s, because, you know, her boxing control and everything is spot on. You know, good foot movement, she draws the leads well, boxes out of that southpaw stance, you know, showing great IQ, but those little things are going to make a huge difference.
So into the closing stages, it's another round that Samadova has won. Akhoundtabar Mazandarani has brought a bit more in this round, I think, though. Good head movement there from her. But it's not going to be enough to win the round as the bell goes. So 4 down here, 2 to go.
And Akhoundtabar has just walked back to that corner, and I tell you, they're going to have to do a good job here because she looks very disheartened. 4 rounds down. And she's been on the end of some heavy punishment. One of the cornermen just jumping up in the corner as well. And they're going to have to really gear her up here, Andy, because it's not going to away her at all. Just trying to fix the headband again there, I think, at the moment. But yeah, it's been a tough night for Akhoundtabar. And at 37 years of age, you don't really want to be on the end of that sort of punishment.
Well, 2 rounds to go, so the finishing tape is in sight for her here. And I think that's what they might be telling her in the corner. She can just navigate this one, then you're going to get through the final round, aren't you? Probably, because you're near enough, then you can see it.
Round 5.
Having said that, on the other side of the ring, it would be good to see Samadova try and click through the gears a bit here. Maybe just relax and loosen up a bit. She is quite rigid, a little bit muscular in the way that she throws the punches. She tends to heave them in a little bit, force them slightly. Good jab left hand there, though. Got good distance on that one.
Yep, just loading up those shots maybe a little bit too much if you're going to try and, you know, pick any faults in her performance, which has been a very good one so far. You go a little bit of constructive criticism, just relax, let them flow. You know, the idea is right, look, hands down by the side, you're controlling that space, leaning back off the shots. Akhoundtabar is pinned on them ropes again. She doesn't really want to be there. That was better work off the ropes from Akhoundtabar.
Again, the jab just lands on the face there of Akhoundtabar Mazandarani. The corner full of encouragement for us as we head into the second minute of round 5. As you've been saying, and I think you're absolutely right, with Samadova, there's some good tools there. It's just that little bit of fluidity. There's our left hand, a perfect example of what you were talking about before.
Falling in with the back foot after that shot, losing her balance and not being able to throw anything off that backhand because she's closed her space down. That's exactly what it is. Minor adjustments. And, you know, there's the foundations are definitely there. Those silly little shots, the silly little mistakes she's making is not allowing her to set up for phase 2 and putting those combinations together.
And it's all about that day in, day out drilling in the gym, because some things are quite hard warning to fighters and it can take a while for them to snap out of that kind of habit. But getting that back foot anchored to the floor and sitting down on your punches, as we describe it, that's a big part of professional boxing. We both watched Lauren Price a lot during her pro career, and in the early stages, that back foot used to come round, and she's so fast that it didn't really matter. But as she went up in the levels, a couple of fights later, you just noticed that back foot was anchored, and it just made such a difference.
Yeah, 100%. Again, a great analogy there, looking at Lauren Price and what she was doing. She now holds her feet, and she controls that space so well. You know, use that Natasha Jonas performance as an example. She dominated that fight. She found her range and she held her feet, let the combinations go. Now, for someone like Samadov, I would advise her to go and watch someone like Lauren Price and say, listen, that's what you need to be doing. Throw your punches in bunches, 4s and 5s. And why does she do that? Because she's allowed to do that, because she's created her own space.
So into the 6th and final round, and Akhoundtabar Mazandarani just coming off her stall there. She's been feeling this 10 minutes that she's boxed so far, but as we were saying, that finishing line is now in sight for her. Samadova with some decent footwork, just landing the jab a couple of times as she was on the way out.
Yep, just a little spring in her step again here. Samadova, she knows the finish line's quite near. She'll feel that she's in a comfortable lead. And Akhoundtabar, although she needs to do something different, and we'll talk about throwing the kitchen sink and all of that, but sometimes when your opponent doesn't allow you to do that, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is really easy to say that somebody just needs to be more aggressive and try and make more happen, but if every time you do that, then your opponent manages to find an answer, then it's not actually that wise a thing to do, particularly at this stage of the fight. She's not going to win this fight. She has to get a knockout now to win this fight, and there's been no evidence that that is on the table.
Well, you know, you get a lot of people saying, like, in certain fights, certain situations, well, he's got to roll the dice now, or she's got to roll the dice now. Why didn't they do that? You go, because they're not allowed to do it. There's a difference. You can't just go in there and go, all right, let's just go for it, because you're going to get yourself knocked clean out, ice cold. That's why they don't do it, because they want to finish a fight on their feet. And I think that this is a prime example here. Samadova has controlled this space. She's come in as a debutee, and she's controlled the space really well against a very experienced opponent. It's a great debut here, and she'll be pleased with herself, and there'll be things to work on, and she's going to be one to watch in the future for sure.
And she's handled the 6 rounds very comfortably too. When you're dictating terms, which she has been, then that certainly makes things easier, but she looks like she could do 3, 4 more of these. And in female pro boxing, it is possible, of course, to move quickly. Those durations are not the same. And there goes the final bell, and that's a good performance from Samadova. As we've been saying, there's some technical flaws to be ironed out there, but pretty much everybody has those early in a career. But as debuts go, I think she could be very pleased with it.
Absolutely, you know, it's debuts are always horrible unless she's a wealth of experience. I did as an amateur. My debut as a professional was a very frustrating one. Didn't enjoy that at all. I had a wealth of experience and just ran away and made life very difficult for me. But Samadova there, she was in against a class operator and she dealt with it and she boxed well. Yeah, there were minor faults, but overall that was a brilliant performance and one that she'll want to remember for sure.
Getting that row back on. Meanwhile, Akhoundtabar Mazandarani getting ungloved in the black corner. She got through to the final bell. But I think she'll find herself on a scoreline of 6 rounds in favour of Samadova, and not in her column, I'm afraid, but I'm sure we'll see her again. Plenty of work for fighters who are prepared to travel.
Ladies and gentlemen, after the end of action, your winner by unanimous decision from the cold corner, Mijgona, Tاجیکستان.
So nice to remember for Samadova, you only get one pro debut, and great to have it on a stage like this with the other fighters on the card and the people in the crowd watching on. And I'm sure that a place will be found for her on an IBA pro card again before too long.